Okay, we have a little bit of a project today. We've been working on it, got a little bit of work done ahead of time, still waiting on some parts. What we've got going on here is we have a Wi-Fi controller. This one does temperature and humidity. See that little head on this one is for humidity. It also has the thermistor or whatever they have inside for temperature sensing. But it's Wi-Fi, so you can set it remote, you can look at it remote, you can adjust things up and down. We use these things sometime on homebrew setups or any other type of thing. This one has to be temperature and humidity. They also make one that just works just like a thermostat, which allows a little, I assume the little 10 amp micro relays inside of the device here to work full 10 amps because we're working off a 15 amp cord here. That was before I cut it. See that we have the correct diameter of cord connector. But there are two sockets here, and they will call it socket 1, socket 2, or work 1, work 2. And on the thermostat version, because you're either working cooling or you're working heating, you can only need one at a time. And so that's a good way to get a maximum of 10 amps out of it. The problem is you might want to use more current than that, and it's not capable of doing that. So what I'm going to use is a relay, which I had hanging around the house here. And it's a 30 amp relay, 25 amps for 120. And we're going to replace that socket. We're going to cut that off and use this one here, which is a 20 amp. And since this will do 25 amps here, we can up it. This happens to be a 20 amp cord in that I had laying around the house. The relay I had laying around the house. So we just had to go get a few things to make this work. Now here's a 4 11/16 box. Has a cover. Had to order that because nobody around my local town had one for some reason. It has a hole for a fuse. Because now if I put this on 20 amp, these are still only good for 10 amps. And so I'm going to limit the cold side, or in this case it's not cold, it's humidity, because this guy will handle the 20 amps. So it will fits right there perfectly over those holes. We have the fuse in the top, and we have this receptacle right there. Now we have to break out the one side. You see that that's not bridged between the two screws here. Like if I flip it over on that side, see that little bridge, that tab? That makes the one connection work both receptacles. These are actually now two independent receptacles. So I'll put the humidity on here with a fuse. And then I will go ahead and run the 25 amp relay to that guy right there. And you say, why do you need 4 11/16? That was my difficulty finding this cover. It's because if I put the relay in there, you can see it's a little short on dimensions. And when we put our raised cover, we get an idea that we've got a little bit more room in there to operate from, because it's going to be screwed to that cover there. So that's the plan. And we're going to bring in the power on the bottom, have a nice little ground lug. It's not green. It's supposed to be green, but it's not green. And we're going to bring the power cord in here and take the two big ones from the two smaller ones from the controller and put them in these two outside. This guy is nothing more than a little piece of mild steel I use to make a hanger for the back. We're going to pop rivet it on the back and use some of these little rubber feet so that we can keep it off of the wall or whatever circuit. So this same thing will do type of job if you want to get the thermostat version. May control a bigger homebrew outfit or of a refrigerator and a little heater if you need that to make sure that we don't get too cold or too hot. So basic idea, you'll just need two relays to do that. And to do that, you might need two boxes, you see, because you would need one of these guys only fits so far. You'd have one on one side, one on the other side. That's enough of that, but then you don't have room for your connector here to hook the duplex receptacle to, so you wouldn't be able to plug into it. So you might need a second box. And what I would do is I would just use chase nipples between the two boxes, say here and here, and just put two together. It's not to be pretty, it's to be functional.
Hey, appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, if you will, subscribe to the channel, either the YouTube or the Rumble channel, which this appears in. And if you can, check the notification bell or settings to make sure that you get notified when new videos are posted. Appreciate it. Well, here we have a pictograph. It's not really a wiring diagram, but it should be good enough for you to understand what I did. Of course, you're on your own. You blow something up like your controller. That's bad on you, not me. This is Elitech. That's the model number. It is a 10 amp, so that would give me 1200 watts. I got a 1500 watt heater that I want to fire, so that's not going to be enough. It's going to be over 10 amps. It's going to be more like 12 amps, something like that. So here we had that duplex receptacle. I have a 20 amp in the video, and I have a 10 amp or 15 amp rather here cord connection in NEMA 515. This is a NEMA 515 as well. That's why it's on a straight blade. The 20 amps are horizontal on one of the poles there. This is the neutral side. This is the hot side. Here we broke that jumper between the two receptacles on the hot side only, on the darker screw only. Of course, we have the ground screw down here, and we have the lighter screw over here representing neutral, and it's left intact to fire both of these two sides. Top I set up as humidity socket. The bottom I set up as heat or cooling socket, depending on the program setting within the Elitech. It'll respond to come on calling for cold or come on calling for heat, depending on a mode you set. So you need to set that programming. It just can't be both at one time with the temperature humidity version. All we're doing is taking that cord off, splitting it out so that we run the power in straight through into the device, unswitched, grounded of course, and the switched wires coming out of the Elitech. This is what the asterisk is for down here. In this model, my unit that I have, work 1 was a blue wire, which is the heat or cool, and work 2 was the brown wire for humidity, and the coming out of the device, the neutral was black and the ground was white. So that's what these connections are. This is that little round glass fuse that we put in there just to make sure. Why? Because if we have a 15 amp plug-in at this point, obviously, if I were to put something more than 10 amps on that socket or that socket, it's going to exceed the 10 amp relay that's built in here. So I put a 10 amp fuse here just to protect the humidity socket that I'm not even going to use, to be quite honest, out in the well house. It's just there to protect that so I don't burn up my controller after going to all this trouble putting it together. So the other side, we're just coming out of the switched, right? We're coming down here, the neutral comes out, they're still tied together, neutral in both cases, they're tied together, and we have then the hot wire that would come off. It's not labeled here, but it is labeled here and here. So to do the heat, it's the blue wire. This is a blue wire coming down here that goes to one side of the coil of the relay, the Omron relay. There's the part number I use. Here's the other side, goes back to neutral because it's 120 volts across it. And all I'm doing is firing that little bitty magnetic coil here, but the power comes off of that black through the line, throughout, comes right down here, hits that contactor, comes out of that contactor, and the other side of that contactor goes to the receptacle. So it should be fairly straightforward to understand. All I'm doing is, instead of using their sockets, I'm using my own, but I need this relay to get the amperage up. And I'm using the output to be a pilot circuit here and to be a switched circuit there. That's it. Here's a little peek inside. And see, that's just the power coming in here on that 12 gauge cord, and it splits up, carries up to the controller, comes out, and instead of running that little direct fired from the relay receptacle, we put that in. And I don't know if we can see the model number on there or not, but that is an Omron, and it's available through Amazon. We just have the coil here. We just fired one straight off of that relay, just fires this guy, and the other side, of course, is neutral. Actually, this is the hot side and the white side is neutral. Over here, that's the power side right off of the relay. I wish you'd show it a little bit better. There we go. So that the other one we ran through this glass fuse right there, and of course we're getting ready to button it up. Okay, there we are. That's what it looks like. She's all finished and painted up. I can't tell you how much of this cost because I didn't cost it out. I already had this cord out there in the garage, 20 amp cord. That's actually a Hubble, so that's a pretty nice little connector right there, a little plug-in. And versus these are probably about $4 a piece, and I have 3 of those. Couldn't tell you what that glass fuse holder cost because I already had it in. Don't remember what the relay is because I bought it off Amazon for something sometime in the past. That's about $4 a spec grade 20 amp receptacle. Other than that, I think that's about $59. The EOTech, I guess is what it's called, Elitech or whatever you call it. look that up, see what that says. It'll focus. Elitech. There we go. So Elitech on that guy. And other than that, I think this was about $8, $9 for the cover. This is a 4 11/16, and the box was about the same. I could find these local. I couldn't find the top like this. And it just so happens that relay fits perfectly in where the switch is. Could put a piece of metal in here, but I don't know why I would. It's finger safe, and it's going to go out and hang in the well house. Oh, there we go. That's the back side of it. That's that piece I cut off, scrapped there in the garage floor. Just pop riveted on, and you see some little plastic bumper feet. They're a few dollars, but you get an idea how it goes together. Other than that, it's a shrink tube and some connectors. Did have to order some right angle female spades in 1012 and in 1814, I guess it is, or 1614. So that's in the project. We're going to plug it up, and it's going to get down to 20 something tonight. We're just going to enjoy reading our heater from inside.